So I want to put a call out there to people in the audience. If you started listening to this show because you were able to finally buy a PS5 and you were looking for content, please leave a comment and let me know. Because this is something that I think, Colin, you and I discussed it maybe a few weeks ago or whatever. It's just that we've seen a sharp increase in this show's listenership over the last 2 or 3 months. And to me, surely this is a major factor in it. Maybe not the only one, but a part of it, just that the PS5 is absolutely killing it right now. And what's funny to me, too, that I was thinking is that I guess we do have some fully exclusive current gen games, but not very many. So the PS5 is really thriving off of multi-platform game. Like, I mean, Hogwarts Legacy. I guess there's God of War that probably has helped sell a lot of units, but again, available on PS4. But people want that premium experience for it, and just the fact that it's available, I think, is huge. Again, every time I go into a store, I always check just to see. And there has been 1 or 2 times where there hasn't been any PS5s, but that's because people are, as soon as they're on shelves, they're buying them and taking them home and having a fun, grand old time with these new consoles. And so I'm curious about, where does it end? Because there was obviously a lot of pent up demand for people that wanted to get one. And this is the other thing, and I said this months ago, is that the PlayStation 5 was available on PlayStation Direct much more readily before it was available in retail. And it kind of wasn't moving the needle, even though we're available online, but not in retail. So it just goes to show, being able to walk into a physical store and buy a PS5 is still very, very essential for these companies. And I know this is kind of a separate topic, but remember that PlayStation VR 2 is not available in stores at all. And it has outsold the original PSVR 1 in the same time frame that it's been out.
Yeah, some people are saying that we're being way too hard on the sales figures.
And just it's really, really important to remember about this whole retail aspect, just because the three of us are in the know. We're online. We know it's only available online. We care about this. Games are literally our livelihood and how we choose to spend our time. So yeah, it's very obvious to us, but to a lot of people that maybe they're invested in games and buy all the new stuff, they might not know about PlayStation VR 2. They might not, or if they do, they'll just say, well, I want to be able to buy it at Target, because there's still a lot of people that if something's wrong with their system, they want to have a clear receipt and be able to take it back to a store that's local to them. That's very important for a lot of people. So it just goes to show, PSVR 2, nowhere near doing as bad as I think that a lot of people are saying.
I don't know. I don't know what to make of this, really. Like, I hear what you're saying about the PSVR data, but I also do feel like there is just kind of like a ceiling for VR in general. I think maybe we were a little bit hard on it, but I don't think it necessarily paints that fantastic of a picture still.
I was just going to say, I was looking up specifically 2016 era news about PSVR 2 or PSVR 1 sales. And they never said how much they sold, but that CNBC was told that after launch, they had sold many hundreds of thousands, which is more than PSVR 2 is sold. And there's analysts saying that the unit came out in October, late October, as I remember. So let's say 10 weeks on the market. So we're already past that window with PSVR 2, that it sold maybe 750,000 units. In other words, there aren't enough PSVR 2s in the wild to really have apples to apples comparisons to a PS4 that was into the market at that point. But I also want to say that the most hardcore people buy the console earliest and are most likely to buy PSVR 2, period.
Right.
So I do contest, while I don't think that PSVR 2 is necessarily bombing, I do think the combination of Sony not saying anything about sales and the assumption of it being maybe several 100,000, that's like half of what PSVR sold. So I don't know where people are getting this number of like that it's like thriving, because it's not.
There are different aspects to the situations that they launch. Obviously, October is pretty close to the holiday season. Probably a lot of people buying PSVR as like a Christmas gift or something like that, or maybe even around Black Friday, like trying to, there are factors for sure that like might contribute. I mean, this isn't about PSVR, but it's just
it can be about whatever we want it to be. So that's totally fine.
Yeah, we'll see. I still haven't taken mine out of the fucking box. Maybe I'll do that now that I have time.
You should. You should. Sorry, I just opened the wrong thing. You should. You should do that. I mean, I got to get back to it too. I told Dustin. I've just been so distracted. I told Dustin that I would try some of the games he recommended, and I will. But I am curious, like what Sony is intending with this thing. Is this? I think you brought this up, Dustin, when you had PSVR on parole on the show. But like that, is this some sort of soft launch? Are you intending on doing a Sega Genesis style reemergence of this thing in the future, or a 1.1 version of it? The status quo is not sufficient. So they have to have some sort of plan, because if the status quo is the best it's going to be, then I'll reiterate that I played Horizon, the Call of the Mountain, the climbing game, for a few hours, and I have trophies that 16% of the people that played the game have that you can't miss. So
yeah,
I just don't know. I think there's a lot of conflicting information, but I'm going to continue to follow my gut on this one. Do you disagree?
Yeah, I honestly don't know. It's really hard, just because I know that the people that have it are really enjoying it and are advocates in the opposite direction. But it's hard too, because we just don't have specific data. But again, the thing for me, without repeating myself too much, is just that seeing how different it is with PS5 when it's available in retail and when it's not. Just I really think that could have a big effect on PlayStation VR. I think too, though, I think Sony is severely at this point fucking up that they don't know the outcome or the roadmap of this device and its software yet, which is true, as we talked about, with the PS5 in general. But I think there's just a bit more security in it being the main platform of PS5, that people are thinking, okay, I know they're going to release stuff for this. But with Sony's precedent in, we'll say, side projects, with whether it's Vita or PSVR, maybe if it's not doing well, maybe they'll just drop it. I think that they've kind of damaged their reputation in that way, and they're feeling the effects of that on PSVR too.
Yeah, well said. As far as PS5 is concerned, just absolutely murdering. And it is true that PlayStation 5 is basically carrying gaming right now, because of Nintendo being so late in their life cycle and the inevitability of a new Switch or a new handheld of some, whatever they call it. I wonder if they'll stay with the name Switch or if they'll go with something new. Probably. You probably think they would. They stay with Game Boy for a while. They stay with DS for a while. I think they'll stay with Switch for a while. But that's obviously imminent, and that's going to change the game in some material ways, especially if it's a more powerful machine, which I assume it will be. But it's also aided in a great way by the general weakness of Microsoft right now, just kind of the inability of them to compete. It's not a good thing that Microsoft's year over year sales 3 years into the life cycle, not even, is down. That's not good at all. They have to do something over there, man. And it could be argued that that's totally fine with them, because they just want people to subscribe. And that might be the whole angle, but it's very weird to see so much weakness out of the competition right now at a time when PlayStation is doing so well, and at a time when PlayStation hasn't really been doing much of anything. I mean, this is all happening without Final Fantasy 16, which I think comes out June 22nd, and then Spider-Man 2, which is coming in September, and so on and so forth, and all the games we don't know about, Factions and Wolverine and Helldivers, and I don't know. It's looking pretty promising right now. But I also think you're right, Dustin, that third party is carrying a lot of this. I think this kind of underlines why Sony has such urgency in failing to try to, and we're going to talk about it in a little while, trying to stop Microsoft's acquisition of Activision, because they really need this money, to continue going. And note that all the acquisitions that they're making are largely with an eye towards games they don't make. They haven't really acquired a team since Insomniac that fits the true mold of a PlayStation game. They're trying to change the definition of that in some way. And I think that'll be a very positive thing for them indeed. So in other words, as good as things look right now, I think things are going to be looking a lot better for them once they have games to talk about.